In America, we find ourselves in a position where we have trouble with the idea of consent. We are not getting consent right many of the times. And now people have tried to help, but have created things that get confusing. This is a part 2 talking about consent. Go back and check out part 1 in our playlist for consent, or just the video below this one. So let's get into it. We were just talking about passive consent and learn that if you go to the AI definition of passive consent, guess what? It says the assumption is that everything is a yes until someone says no. No, 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 no. In our kinky BDSM lifestyle, everything is a no unless it's negotiated using diaper. Did I ask permission extensively with representation? You can't get any of that by assumption. Assumption is the death of consent because it takes the person out of it. It's, oh, well, I assumed. I went online and I saw active consent, and my partner was actively going along with it. I get so heated I forgot we were talking about passive consent. See, it's even confusing me. Passive, active. None of them stand out as clearly drawn out. So let's get into it. So passive is the one that implies the no. You saw it on the screen. I am neurodivergent and I am passionate about this topic. And not angry, but worried. What passive and active, these confusing, misguided terms. And the worst one of all is assumed consent. So we're going to go on to now. We learned passive is just assume they said yes. They've been drinking? Well, they're not saying anything. I guess it's a yes. Come on. I've heard this bullshit before. We never assume. We don't go passive. We get informed, consent. Period. Let's hit a slideshow. Again, we're in a generation that's going to look at this and think this is the proper thing. Passive consent, see it right here. They explicitly state otherwise, unless they... So you have to go out of your way to say no, but everything's a yes. Please don't use passive consent in your language, teachings, or personal use. This one's got me, man. I want to take on passive consent in a ring. But before we move on, let's just move on to the ethical considerations. Passive consent is generally considered less robust than active consent and may not be suitable when there are risks or when collecting personal data. So, didn't we talk about a risk profile in BDSM and kink? So it disqualifies itself, right? Now remember, I'm neurodivergent. Meanings matter to me. And understand, I learned to read with an X-Men comic on my right side and a dictionary on the left side. And some people have asked, how did I know the dictionary was on the left side? I'm a lefty. It was easier to try to find words and read things and slowly break them down. And you're wondering, how could I look up words if I didn't know words? I would sometimes have to look up the words in the actual definition to understand the definition. That was my life for about 6 months. But it made me really understand that words should have meanings that we listen to. So the neurodivergent in me gets very particular about certain things. Understand that. And again, we want to eliminate any shades of gray and make it bright, colorful understanding, especially when it comes to consent. Here we go. Active consent is the context of sexual activity. BDSM is not inherently sexual, ladies and gentlemen, but we'll go with this. Refers to an affirmative, conscientious, and freely given agreement to engage in sexual activity. BDSM is not inherently sexual. It emphasizes that consent is not passive and must be actively communicated, not simply assumed. Not assumed from the silence or lack of resistance. In context of data privacy, active consent refers... We're not going to do the data one. So active. Is it active where? What active? It's moving? It's in flux? Active to me just throws me. It's not active. Consent is consent. What we need to teach is the basics. And again, we'll go over it in this video. How do you get consent? Did I ask permission extensively, representation? Use a diaper so you don't get shit all over you. Do the right thing. Ask a person. Talk to them. I think we rush consent so much. And it's because of the vanilla culture fuck around and find out mentality. A lot of you people come from the vanilla culture because you were vanilla at one point. I can honestly tell you I was never vanilla, but I grew up in the vanilla world, so even I saw things and kind of go against what we're doing. We are not a fuck around and find out culture. We are a sit down and build wonderful diagrams and blueprints, not just for our scenes, but for our actual dynamics and relationships. Why is active consent even considered for this lifestyle? So let's go to the notepad. Hold on. Notes. So these words are bad and dangerous for our lifestyle. You want to take them to the vanilla and go to the campuses? You could try this, but it's not clear. Diaper works much better, but that's a consent acronym. I don't want to water down the word consent. I want to make it more important. I want to make it more hard to achieve. I don't want to water down consent and have to add a precursor to it. No, thank you. This is like enthusiastic consent. We went over this. Why is enthusiastic consent different? Because not everyone's enthusiasm is the same. Not only that, but now I'm judging. Are they enthusiastic or are they intimidated and scared? Have they been coerced? Well, I guess it's passive consent. Let's just go. They didn't say no. Just think how easy it would be to be coercive, to get passive consent. Let's just talk about active consent, shall we? So we know that many people come from the fuck around and find out vanilla culture, so they're lazy with obtaining consent. There is more passive consent or assumed consent, and maybe even active consent instead of sat down and actually communicated, negotiated, filling paperwork out. Yeah, you should ask someone if you can kiss them. Grow up. If you're going to be doing something with a person, make sure they want it done to them. Why? Why do I have to say that out loud? That's the fucking problem. We don't need more words before consent. We need more people to stand up and be like, no, consent is a pricey item, and you've got to be able to earn it and be able to pay for it with your actions. Now, during the back and forth, someone said they didn't like a consent blanket. I'm going to explain a consent blanket for everyone. You don't want to use it in your vocabulary? Don't. So, hold on. We'll use a tool. So this is my consent blanket. Isn't it wonderful? My brat made it for me. This is the consent blanket I use for me and my brat. Now, what I do with this consent blanket for me and my brat is I put it on the floor and I say, this is my consent blanket to my brat. And I say, everything I put under it, you can do. And I give you permission. But some of the things I might put under this blanket might come with different conditions and boundaries and limits. For example, you can slightly tickle me, but after a few minutes, it's going to piss me off. So I want light. It's a hard limit for you to try because it's just going to make me angry. And that goes under my blanket. And I completely can withdraw that blanket 100%. And no longer there's anything under that consent blanket. I can take things out. I can add things through negotiation and dynamic maintenance. That is my blanket with my brat. I might have blankets with other individuals. And to make it clear, I will write those down. Again, I have the materials. These are free now. Go back and watch the first video because I'm running out of time to find out how to get your free PDF copies. And yeah, I could sell those for $10. Free for you because I want you to be okay and understand consent and how to live in this lifestyle safely. So that consent blanket is fully under my control, no one else's. And I get to choose what lives under there and what doesn't, and how it lives under there. She wrote something, so let's read it. Clear language works best for all involved. Assumptions are horrible and bad words for consent, as passive, active, assumed, all can lead to gray areas. And again, we know gray areas aren't good for this lifestyle, right? Consent is always revocable. Any gray area can lead to abuse. It can lead to misunderstandings or worse. Clear language. Consent is a statement. And I will protect that statement and not have it watered down on my watch. I'm out of time on this part too. I actively encourage you to go read about it and join me in saying the word consent needs to be as powerful as no, as stop, unless otherwise negotiated, because our lifestyle is about negotiation before consent. It's never assumed. It's never given passively, just informed.